If you are a listener of Dr. Jordan Peterson, I'm sure you heard him speaking on the subjects of the shadow. This is a fascinating subject, and after watching hours of his lectures, I decided to dive deeper into this matter. So if you would like to have a better understanding what shadow is and how to integrate it, stay tuned. The concept of the shadow has its origins in the work of the Swiss psychologist Carl Gustav Jung. Jung believed that the shadow is a part of the unconscious mind that is made up of the aspects of ourselves that we don't want to acknowledge or accept because they are deemed unacceptable or incompatible with our conscious self-image. These parts might include our fears, desires, impulses, and other aspects of ourselves that we consider negative or undesirable. Therefore, these traits are being pushed away into the shadow, our unconscious mind, hidden from ourselves and others. According to Carl Jung, one of the key ways to achieve enlightenment, which is seen as the ultimate goal of human psychological development, was through the integration of the shadow. He believed that without integration, we would be unable to achieve the kind of psychological wholeness and self-awareness necessary for personal growth and spiritual development. He wrote, "Everyone carries a shadow, and the less it's embodied in the individual conscious life, the blacker and denser it is." You might be wondering how to even recognize the part of yourself that is hidden from yourself. The nature of the shadow is to stay hidden. However, it will manifest itself through moods, certain behaviors and emotions like anger, jealousy, rage, even anxiety and sadness. Most of us encounter the situation in our life where our actions and our intent didn't really align. Lack of explorations in these situations can lead to a further misalignment in what we think, feel, and do. When we deny aspects of ourselves that we perceive as negative or unacceptable, we might engage in self-sabotaging behaviors that prevent us from achieving our goals or living to our full potential. For example, if we have repressed feelings of unworthiness, we might sabotage ourselves by avoiding opportunities for success or by engaging in self-destructive behaviors. Our shadow can be triggered by certain situation or event, leading us to react emotionally in ways that we might not understand. For example, if we have repressed feelings of shame, we might feel triggered and overwhelmed in situations where we perceive criticism or rejection. Our shadow can influence our behavior in an unconscious way, leading us to repeat patterns or behaviors that are not serving us. For example, if you have repressed feelings of worthlessness, you might unconsciously seek out relationships or situations that reinforce this belief. By bringing the contents of the shadow into the light of conscious awareness and accepting them as part of ourselves, we can gain greater self-awareness, emotional healing, and personal growth. Furthermore, Jung believed that the process of integrating the shadow was a lifelong journey, one that required ongoing self-reflection and exploration. By continually working on integrating our shadow, we can achieve a greater sense of inner peace and well-being. The problem is that most of us not even trying to integrate our shadows, and we also actively trying to repress it or deny it, which can lead to real negative consequences like limiting our self-awareness, inner conflicts, and preventing us from living more authentic lives. There are several reasons why we might deny our shadows or ignore the negative aspects of ourselves. One of which is definitely over-identification with the persona, a social mask that each of us wear in our interactions with others. But we're going to talk about it in depth in the next video. For now, let's talk about some other root causes why we repress negative aspects of our personality. From a young age, we are taught by society to conform to certain norms and values, which can create the pressure to present a certain image of ourselves. We might deny our shadows in order to fit in or avoid negative social consequences. We might fear that if we reveal our true selves, we will be rejected or ostracized by others. This fear can lead us to deny or repress aspects of ourselves that we think others might find unacceptable. We often feel ashamed or guilty about the negative aspects of ourselves, leading us to deny or suppress them. We may worry that if we acknowledge these parts of ourselves, we will be judged or punished. We might not be aware of the negative aspects of ourselves or how they are impacting our lives. Without self-awareness, we might not realize the importance of integrating the shadow. Acknowledging and integrating our shadow can be a painful and challenging process. We might avoid this process in order to avoid emotional discomfort or pain. Regardless of the reason, denying our shadows can lead to a negative psychological and emotional well-being consequences. Integrating the shadow, on the other hand, can lead to a greater self-awareness, emotional healing, and personal growth. By acknowledging and accepting all aspects of ourselves, we can become more integrated and whole individuals. The process of integrating our shadows is a complex and ongoing journey and can vary from person to person. However, I would like to share with you some general steps that can be helpful in this process. The first step in integrating the shadow is to become aware of its existence and to acknowledge that it's the part of ourselves. This requires a willingness to explore and confront aspects of ourselves that we have repressed or denied. This increased self-awareness can help us better understand ourselves, our emotions, and our patterns of behavior. With this understanding, we can make more conscious choices that align with our values and desires, leading to a greater sense of inner peace and fulfillment. This involves being honest with yourself and being open to exploring and integrating new aspects of ourselves as they emerge. Once you have identified your shadow, it's important to acknowledge and accept it without the judgment. Recognize that everyone has a shadow and that is a natural and necessary part of being human. This involves exploring the unconscious aspects of ourselves and identifying the emotions, fears, desires, and impulses that have been hidden in the shadow. This can be done through journaling, therapy, or other forms of self-reflection. It's also useful to ask yourself, what are the valid needs of these emotions that are manifesting as shadow? Do you need to pay more attention to certain parts of your personality? Or perhaps you have some deep needs that you have neglected? Integrating your shadow can be challenging and uncomfortable at times. It's important to be kind and compassionate with yourself throughout the process. Integrating the shadow involves accepting all parts of ourselves, even the parts that we might not like or feel ashamed of. When we can fully accept ourselves, we can experience greater self-love and self-compassion, which can lead to a greater inner peace and fulfillment. Integrating your shadow involves taking action to change the patterns of behavior that are no longer serving you. This may involve setting boundaries, expressing your needs and desires, or cultivating new habits and new ways of being. It can be a complex and difficult process, and it's important to seek support from a therapist, coach, or trusted friend who can provide guidance and help you stay on track. Once again, remember that integrating your shadow is a lifelong process. It's important to be kind and compassionate with yourself throughout the process, and it's okay to take one step at a time. In summary, integrating the shadow is a process that involves recognizing, acknowledging, and accepting the unconscious aspects of ourselves and finding healthy ways to integrate them into our lives. Being aware of all bright and dark aspects of yourself will make you more authentic and resilient being. This requires listening and observing not only to what you truly want, but also to what you're afraid of, what you're avoiding or denying. In the next video, I'll be talking about the persona. If you struggle with being too agreeable, if you struggle with saying no and having healthy boundaries, you might want to subscribe and hit the bell notification so you won't miss it. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.